So for this session on connecting the dots of digital strategy, I'm joined by Nart Wielaard and Stephanie Wagenaar from Bold here in the lovely barn at 1.5 meters social distance, so all perfectly fine. So to start with Nart, he's a TEDx speaker. He is author of the book We Are Big Data and an associate partner at Bold. Now, he helps organizations turn complex issues into convincing and simple narratives, mostly in this domain of digital transformation. Now, he was originally trained as a certified public accountant, and he uses this knowledge in his new forthcoming book, where he talks about how CFOs play a vital role in improving data-driven decision-making processes. Welcome, Nart. On my other side, I'm joined by Stephanie. She's lead digital here at Bold, and she advises companies on strategy and implementation of artificial intelligence. She's what Google would call a smart creative. So she combines technology with the creativity aspect as well, and she tackles business problems by using innovative tools and data analytics. And her specialization is creating data strategies on the one hand and data quality improvement strategies on the other. So welcome, Stephanie, as well. Welcome. So starting with you, could you tell a bit more about Bold, about what it is that you do and what you help organizations to achieve?
Yes, definitely. Well, welcome to Bold, Nancy. So Bold was founded in 2013, and it's based, as you mentioned, here in Baren, where we are now at our lovely office. And it was originally based around what we call the 3 T's. So that stands for transformations, turnarounds, and transactions. But we noticed that over the years, more and more of our work had a digital component to it. So that's why we decided to launch Bold Digital in September of this year. That it really deserved its own practice. And in Bold Digital, we combine digital knowledge with the business knowledge of Bold, and also more the traditional IT knowledge.
I think the nice thing actually about Bold is I just recently joined. I mean, you've been working here for quite a few years, I guess, and I joined just half a year ago. And I think one of the nice things about Bold is what I experienced is that it's, you know, people who are actually doing things. They're not just producing the sheets with these grand visions on how to use data. Well, that's basically my job, but there are actually people who know how to really transform organizations. They have been there, done that, and I think that's. I really like that about working here, actually. Yeah.
So it's actually putting the theory into practice, what you guys are doing.
Yes, execution is very important for us. It's not just analyze and advise, but it's also
it's the combination, and I think. Well, of course, you would say that about your own company, but I think that's quite unique in this world. There is not so many agencies who can really fulfill that promise.
Now, I heard you mention data already.
Data. The whole world is talking about data.
There's a lot going on about data, and we all get on this data train while we at the same time not really know what we actually want to achieve as companies, right? So how do you deal with that?
Well, you know, the one saying that pops up my mind and that you've read everywhere in the last, say, couple of years is data is the new oil. Mm-hmm. Well, I would say that's true, and it's not true on the other hand as well. Yeah, data is the new oil. There is a lot of potential that data brings to the world of, you know, every company. Companies can transform their processes to make it more efficient. They can do better sales. They can pinpoint their efforts to maximize everything they do, to maximize their results. This is the true part. This is the valid part about the comparison with oil. But people often they don't actually know what they're talking about why data is so important. For one instance, data is not the new oil because, you know, oil is an infinite resource, and data we can just freely copy it. We can do with it whatever we like. And there's a number of other elements in data that are so not similar to oil. So I think there's quite a bit of misunderstanding actually about what data does to the world. And that's also why we need at Bold, we need to translate the whole vision about how data impacts the world into more tangible strategies for companies that actually work, that actually pay off, that create value.
And connecting the dots at the same time. What do you actually mean by connecting the dots?
Well, connecting the dots. I mean, Nancy, you're quite experienced in this world as well, and probably I don't have to tell you that if you just implement a piece of technology into a company, it's probably not going to deliver the results that you were hoping for.
It remains the piece of technology.
It's just a piece of technology. So that's why if we really want to make technology work, and if we really want to make value of all this new technology, we shouldn't just implement the technology. We should have people understand what this technology can actually do to them. What is the story behind that's one of the dots that needs to be connected. What's the story behind the data? So I think we're actually, in my experience, when I look around and I see all these very nice projects at companies, we're very bad at storytelling. We're very bad at engaging people in why we are using technology, in what's the bigger picture of it, and not only what's the bigger picture, what's really in it for them. So that's one of the dots that needs to be connected.
Yes, so telling the stories to the employee base is quite necessary as well to get them to change and adopt a new way of working. I
always say people tend to think that the best strategies will win. It's not true. It's the ones who tell the most compelling stories about their strategy, which is of course a bit, it's not very objective because that's what I do for a living, but I think it's an underestimated part of the digital transformation.
Yeah, and then I think we can collect all kinds of data, we can collect massive amounts of data, but we want to derive intelligence from them. And we talk about artificial intelligence. Could it be that sometimes you get unintelligence, even if you are using data?
Artificial unintelligence, I can't remember the name of it now, but there's actually a book on that that is titled Artificial Unintelligence. You're definitely right, and I think, that this is a whole different league. I would say there's a lot to say about that, but if you I'd like to say one thing about it, because I don't want to make it complex, but if you really want to make value out of data, and if you want to make sure that it's not about unintelligence, we need context. If we just, and she's nodding at me, she knows all about this. This is her business.
Yeah.
If you just have a team of data scientists, and if they just work on a certain problem, on a certain challenge, and you don't use the context that's within the business, that's within the ones that actually know how things work. If you don't have to bring in this context, well, in Dutch we say, je gaat de bietenbrug op, but you're Flemish, I'm not sure if you know what it means.
I do.
It will go wrong.
Yes.
So that's actually that's what we really need. But I'm sure you have plenty of examples where you bring in this context, because that's what you do.
Yeah, and I loved it when we got introduced at first, that you told me that you're the guy of doing the storytelling and using that dot. And
I always say I can't do it. I'm good at nothing, and she is actually the one.
And she's the one doing
capable
the stuff.
of doing things.
Yes. Okay. So that's what I really like. So it's power lady. I love that aspect. So we were talking intelligence. So there is quite a lot of intelligence that's being talked about. Artificial intelligence, business intelligence.
Yes.
You probably need to connect some dots there as well. So how do you do that? How do you go about this? And basically, what I would also like to know is what kind of tooling would be suitable to do that?
Yeah. Well, a lot of times when I come to a new client, I talk about analytics tools and I mention AI. And then the first response I usually get is, but oh no, that's way too advanced for us. We're just a small company. We're very traditional. We're just new in a digital world. And that's why I explain to them that, in the AI tool now is infused in a BI tool. So for example, Cognos Analytics is a great example of BI, so business intelligence, but it's infused with AI. So you already have access to AI in a very simple way. And an example of this is forecasting, for example, driver analysis, so analyzing which drivers are responsible for a particular outcome, but also it helps you to really understand your data set. So it detects small problems, small anomalies that were otherwise very difficult to find. And it has an integrated Watson assistant. So you can even ask questions in plain language. You can ask, and then he will help you, Watson will help you guide you through the analysis and pinpoints certain insights so that you can learn from that artificial intelligence.
I think that's what's going on these days all the time, isn't it? That companies are actually using artificial intelligence without even knowing
Exactly.
that they are doing so.
That's what I will say, yes.
And they think, oh, it's nothing for me, but
yes.
actually it is already being used within the tools that they apply.
Definitely.
So you mentioned Cognos Analytics so it is connecting the dots as we speak within the tooling.
Yes.
I'm sure that everybody's eager to find out what would be the main benefits for organizations to use a tool like that.
Yeah. Well, for me, the main benefit, there are a lot of great features, but really the main benefit is the speed. And an example is that for one of the clients, I produced a dashboard, and we used the secure gateway, which is a connection integrated in Cognos. So we get an almost real-time feed from the database. So when they enter the offers in the morning, they see all the numbers from the day before. And what I did for this client, I made a really simple, what are my top 20 best products and the top 20 worst products, and who's responsible and revenue. It's just a really simple graph. And because it's so powerful in that way that it's so fast, they were able to detect a problem in the portfolio of the products the day after it occurred, and immediately could call the person responsible, could take that product out of the portfolio. So the real game changer in this sense is the speed, right?
It's close to real time, basically.
Exactly, and it could have been detected now, it's just a simple BI graph. It could also have been detected by AI, for example, but the real game changer is the speed. That's really important. And another example is for the other clients, I'm also doing what we call a KPI project. So we are collecting all the KPIs. And now the KPIs were produced in various reports, so all over the place and in different reports. And now we want to bring them together in one platform, which is then Cognos Analytics on cloud. So we have all the KPIs in one dashboard. We present them in such a way that they are appealing, that they are actionable, that you can take action right away. And that's also a great benefit of Cognos, that you can bring various data sources together. It has AI data preparation, so it does a lot of preparation for you already. So it's just a great way to...
so all your KPIs in one screen, that must sound like music to your ears.
I think that this is actually a great example of what I mean, in the way we should use data, because as I said, you said many people are stepping on this data train, and well, I think that most of them have no idea what they are doing actually. And if you look at data, and if you look at all the tools that's in use to enhance this data, to use the data, there is basically just one big promise, and it's better decisions. And this is actually a great example. I mean, if you they're always saying like we're drowning in data and we're starving for wisdom. And this could be
Mr. Wilson.
Yeah, well, yeah, but he also said another thing, by the way. I'm not sure if you know that, because the original quote is longer than this. It's
you need a synthesizer.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's actually what we're doing now. We need to connect people. We need to connect different departments. We need to connect different disciplines into each other to actually make sure that there will be better decisions.
Yeah, and that's also what makes us different with the KPI project, is that we started also from the business needs. So it's not just send us your KPIs and we'll visualize them for you, but we really went back to the business, gave them templates to fill out the KPIs according to the SMART criteria, really helped them to formulate what is essential information, what do I need?
What's their business value?
Exactly.
But what I'm curious about, I mean, I've never worked with you in this way, not so concrete in your project yet. But you said that people sort of are a bit anxious when they hear about artificial intelligence. Like, no, that's not for me. Just don't do that. How do you engage people? How do you make sure that they work with you and that they get? How do you make them cross that bridge and they help you with that?
Yeah, I think that like we just mentioned, that Cognos Analytics is a great tool for that, because it's self-service analytics, so anyone can use it, and it already has AI in it. So it's just a matter of uploading your files or connecting it to the database and exploring your data, and you can already start using AI in that instance. And most cases, actually, the clients that were hesitant at first are now asking me like, can we
want
take
more.
it up one notch
Yeah.
and use Watson for machine learning?
Okay.
Sometimes it also helps them to get them to realize that as consumers, we're already being influenced by algorithms big time. If we look at Spotify or Netflix or
yes.
There were
a couple of years, Cambridge Analytica, which was quite
Yes.
a thing. One other question. So at this moment in time with COVID-19 going on, we hear our Prime Minister say a lot of times that they need to make decisions based on 50% of the information only. Is that something that companies go through as well?
I would say that's the business case to start projects like this, because he's right. I mean, especially in times of chaos as he's now, and actually at Bolt we call this business. We have coined this business unusual. In times of business unusual, you can't do with the regular information that you use to determine your strategy and to do your daily business. You need other information, you need other data to steer your ship, to do your work properly. So especially at these times, I think people need to invest in technologies like this.
Yeah, and then of course, I think you mentioned already, but external data resources can be used as well, can't they?
Yes,
in this tool?
yes, that's what's great about Cognos, is that you can use your own internal data, but you can also upload files, market data, for example, competitor data, any kind of data that you have, and make that cross-reference. And that really gives you insights and places your own data in a context, which helps you understand your own data better. So it's a great platform for that, yes.
One last thing about connecting the dots, Nart. It's not just about the technology, it's also about the human side.
Definitely. Yeah.
Could you just talk a little bit about that, what it is then, how to connect the dots from that perspective?
Well, as I mentioned, I think we need a decent story, not about what technology is, but about why are we using this? What is the bigger goal behind it? Having said that, that's not the only thing you need to do. Because if you just tell people the big story, they're like, okay, yeah, well, that's great, and yeah, let's do it, but they're not really engaged. You need to show them, and this is the hard part, you need to show them what role they play, what can they actually do to come to this bigger goal, and how in their daily operations, how they can contribute to that, and what needs to change. So the hard part is not telling the big story, the hard part is translating the big story into their daily routines.
In order to get change management flowing. Yeah. That's basically what we're saying here.
And we often say like analytics is not a tool, it's about learning a new language. So the translation skills, like asking the right questions, what kind of questions can you ask of analytics? And then the next point, how can you translate the data into insights? How can you actually use them? How can you turn them into actions? Yeah. I think that's also a really important part. And that's also where the business knowledge comes in.
Okay, well, I think for those organizations out there that are still drowning in data while starving for wisdom, I think this was truly a story of hope. It's about connecting the dots. It's not just about digital transformation, but about human transformation at the very same time. And it is about engaging for this, change management. It's about infrastructure, new culture as well at the same time. And then we can all achieve true wisdom. So I would like to thank you very much, Stephanie and Nart, for joining me. And back to the studio from Bold in Baarn.
Thank you.
Thank you.